Welcome to another episode of Stitching Tales, a podcast about all things sewing and what it's really like to run a sewing business. I am Johanna Lundström of The Last Stitch.
And I am Malena Hjerpe of Hazelhen Patterns.
So what's been going on, Malena, since we last spoke? I thought we should do a little bit of an update first before we start talking about today's topic.
Yeah, no, so in the beginning of this fall or end of the summer, I talked a little bit about my bookings and about like freelance work, going up and down, and I had been fully booked, then cancelled, fully booked again, then cancelled again, and like back and forth. What it looks now, probably will be booked for like 60%, probably will be 50% in reality, we'll see. I think some weeks will get cancelled. But that's, better not nothing. So I'm a little bit like, sigh of relief. Like, okay, it will work out this half year again. Then after New Year's, it's like, but that's the future. We have no idea what will happen then. So I'm pretty positive about this fall now. And the good thing is, I will have a little bit time on working with our projects, my own projects, things. And I have a little bit of update here, some news. Because my situation right now, I have a studio. At the moment, I'm sitting at home. When I do freelance work, I sit at home, work with my computer here. I have like a desk set up, screen, everything. But all my sewing equipment are in my studio. And when I say my studio, is actually my husband's office that he rents, that I'm squatting, occupying most of the area. And it has been working like fine, no problem. I get to live there rent-free, so I'm happy about that. But at the moment, there are two people there now. He has a coworker as well. So I can't really fit in there if I want to go and work a regular day. And they are sitting on their phones and are like, they need to focus on their work. So me coming there, sewing on my serger is going to be noisy.
Yeah.
So I actually been thinking, like, maybe I need some other space. Maybe I can't. I don't fit in there anymore. They are too crowded. So there is this place on my street, like literally on my street, a little bit further down, like a 3-minute walk if I'm rushing. There is this, it used to be a theater, but like a local theater, small town. I live in a small town. But they have now a bridal shop there. And I know the person who is owning it, and a really nice person. And she has mentioned like, but we have like spare room if you want to like come here. So I'm going to rent the stage in that
You're going to be kidding me. Like the stage where they have like fashion shows or?
No, absolutely not. No, they have, since it used to be a theater, it was a long time since it was a theater, but there is like literally a stage then and some back room that they have, have their sewing equipment in, because they also do like alterations, like hemmings on the bridal dresses. And then like where the audience used to sit, the big room, then that's the bridal shop. So they have like so many beautiful bridal dresses.
Wow,
but the stage is basically empty. Yeah, they have like a couple of fitting dummies, or like dummies and dresses on display. So I'm gonna be behind there. So I'm like, you could add some screen or something. I'm not working on anything secret. Like for me, it's fine that they see my work. But I don't think that the customers want to see, my office. So like maybe some screens or something, so I'm a little bit hidden. But yeah, I'm gonna move there. So I actually can do some work.
To me, this is so funny because I can imagine, because you are literally on the stage, and where you say where the audience used to sit, that's where the shop is. So it's not really separated. So you have to like imagine that you would be literally on stage sewing, and there are no curtains to pull.
No, fingers crossed, there will be something there in the future.
We have to do the listeners a big service, and once you got this space, you need to take a photo. We need
Absolutely.
to see this for us. I mean, that's the reality of running our business. We try to make it work, but this was a new one. Yeah, but you're going to be a little bit raised then. I mean, I guess there's a gap between the floor.
No, it's a huge gap, like
you have
like
to
1
be careful.
meter above the floor, like
right,
yard
this one. So you have this
something.
little stair on the side where you can go down then to the like ground floor.
Yeah, it's a stair in the middle, but yeah. No, so it's a proper stage. Yeah, so it's a little bit different kind of working space.
Yeah, because we heard a lot about, places where people set up this sewing studio, but this was the first, I think. Sorry for laughing, but I just like...
No, it's I can see the image, like what you are.
And I get that
picturing.
because also, because I think a lot of us, when we're sewing, it's kind of like a private thing, as you mentioned, also with your roomies or your office colleagues. I have the same setup, that I share my sewing space with a friend, or he doesn't sew, but I don't like to sew when he is here, because to me that is a private thing, and first of all it's very noisy, and secondly it's different. It's not it doesn't feel, when someone else is not really sewing but doing other things, I feel like I get a little bit self-conscious about all the things that, I throw things around on the floor, and it's just a messy situation, and so I get that feeling, but this is because I can imagine, I don't think I would like to, even though they work with clothes as well. I don't think it would be a bit uncomfortable sitting there sewing, and as you say, the customer is coming, and they're like, "Who's she? Is she making bridal dresses?" No, she's a pattern maker, completely unrelated.
Yeah, the good thing also, or like good bad, we will. They mostly have their customer there on Thursday, Friday, and the weekends, and I don't work on the weekends. And I don't know if it's also Thursday, Friday during the day, or if it's more during the evening, because they are, brides, they also have their regular hours to work. So they, obviously it's more weekend heavy for them then. And then I'm not going to work. So we are going to like not overlap that much. So I think it will be a good setup. But also I love working from home, but it gets a little bit lonely. So it will be great to be able to see some people. Obviously I'm not going to socialize with the customers, but the people who are working there, they have their own seamstress as well who do the alterations. So it's like, well, it's something within my work field even. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be really fun. I'm going to go there now and tomorrow, fingers crossed, I will get the key. So maybe later this week I will start to move in, and pictures will come when I'm gonna be ready.
Wow, so excited for you. I love this, and also as you say, one I think it's so motivating for your own work and your inspiration to be surrounded by other people that are working in intangible. I think even though I don't share my place with someone who is a very driven and creative person. So to me, again, being in that space motivates me, and also have a few colleagues here as well, and see them work hard. That motivates me also to keep going, because if you only with yourself all the time, something happens, I think, with your drive and your motivation and your energy and all those things. So I totally get that. I'm so glad that I moved out my sewing space into a separate space that I have to walk to, even though it's just a 5 minutes walk. It's just so nice to have that separation between work and leisure in a way.
Yeah,
even
yeah,
though
no,
it's
really good.
convenient, it's also, I think it comes with a lot of drawbacks. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you have a separate working space, you are more focused when you work there, because you are there, you want to do the thing then and then go home. So it is a little bit different. And also now that it's gonna be like a 4-minute walk. The other office was like, I mean, it's not far. 5 minutes by car, 20 minutes walking, so it's not far, but go and just work for 2 hours, for example, if I just want to sew something. I mean, now it's going to be so much easier to just do that. So yeah, I have a positive feeling about this fall. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so excited. That's so fun to hear. And I'm
and
also
the light.
moving. Yeah.
Oh my God, the light. I mean,
yeah,
they
you have
are
the
taking
strobe lights, or do you have the
No, but they are. I mean, they are obviously taking pictures of the bridal dress, so they are in the store space, and they have like huge windows, so it's like beautiful natural light. And I'm just like, oh, so I can sneak in there while they are not, while it's empty, and hopefully, I mean, I don't want to have bridal dresses in the background, but like, hopefully, I can find some space where it's a little bit easier for me also to take pictures. So fingers crossed on that one.
That will be, and also I think, I mean, they could also, I guess, for their social media and everything like that, I mean, if they have the space to have like a backdrop that they could roll out, and that could also be beneficial for both of your business to have a certain space, just a small amount of corner or something dedicated to taking photos, that is a little bit less cluttered, because I can imagine, again, if you're taking a photo for a customer or doing for your social media, sometimes it's nice to not have too much distracting in the background, because you want to really make the bride shine, rather than having them standing, in front of a lot of other stuff in the shop. I can imagine. So I think you could actually that could be a mutually beneficial way of seeing if you could find a solution. Because I mean, it's so good, and to bring that back to, I mean, we're doing the same thing, which I mentioned in a previous episode. So we're moving in 3 weeks.
When are you moving?
Yeah. So in the weekend, in 3 weeks, I'm doing a similar thing like you, because I'm actually moving my sewing studio into a separate studio, so I can sew and film on my own, and then I have my computer work and all the other things, which I share with my friend Oscar, because he needs more space as well. So he's going to take part of my space in this studio, and then I'm going to move all my sewing equipment. And I look so much forward to this, and we're going to really, turn this place around as well. And also, since he's a photographer as well, we plan to have our stand with a backdrop up always, so that, because for both him and I, there is so much work just setting up the equipment, and if we could have this permanent solution, we know that we will both have more photos taken, because I mean, it's really hard to set up everything you have to do all the time. You just keep postponing it, and then you end up with no photos, which is detrimental for if you're running a business like you and I do, and trying to produce new content for our channels and marketing. So I'm very excited. It's funny that we're actually in a similar position now, that you and I are both moving our sewing spaces from very interesting. So we're definitely going to keep you posted, all listeners, on our Instagram account, stitchingtalespod, a little bit behind the scenes as well, and of course on the stage, literally on the scene.
Yeah, and it was so funny also, our previous episode on how to organize your sewing space. I mean, we got really a lot of positive feedback on that. And I mean, if people are team Johanna or team Malena, like messy or not messy, so maybe we need to do a follow-up episode on that one. And now when we have made new spaces for ourselves, like how have we been thinking then, and what have you been done? And I mean, I have a feeling that I will just have been shoving things in the corner and just started working anyway, because I don't have the patience. Might be like that.
Yeah, I wonder about that, because now when you're literally sewing on a stage, would that make you slightly more self-conscious, and you're sharing the space about the fact that, the order, or can you just zoom that out? I guess as you said, you would need to have some screens or drapes or something like that.
Yeah, I'm thinking of screens and curtains, because I mean, also like, my fabric collection is not fancy looking, like, you know, and you want it to be a little bit nice looking if you're gonna have like other customers there. So I mean, obviously I want to, they shouldn't see my mess at least. But I think it also will be a good thing, you know, to hold myself a little bit more accountable of cleaning away, tidying things up, because there are going to be other people there as well. So you need to respect the space in another way then. So I do think I will make it a little bit tidier then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm so excited. Super excited. So any other plans that you're working on? Or
that's it.
No, that's it. Yeah. It's a whole thing. Obviously,
yeah, no, I'm
moving.
I mean, since I will have more time soon to work with my own things, I'm like mentally preparing the to-do list, like what should I tackle first, what should I, so I'm like, when I do start to work with it, I will be like super efficient and do it in a good order. So I'm working on that, like how should I set up my work in the coming weeks, but yeah, it that will happen in the future.
Yeah.
But how are things with you? It's a process, absolutely.
It's a process for sure. Yeah, it's good actually. I've been feeling super energetic as perhaps longer time listeners know that I quit my day job, which I have been doing not full time but part time for the last 3.5 years, I think. Before that, it's a long story. I usually, to cut, most of the time I've had some type of other work, from 100% to 50%, depending on the different situations, and I try to run the last stitch on the side. And it's always a struggle, and I've been feeling extremely torn, and I also felt that the fact that I have to do this constant task switching during the work week has made me less efficient in my to running deal of stitch, because I feel like I don't have the space or time to really focus on stuff, and the switching back and forth has also made me not as I don't felt like I always see things as clear, and I have struggled like thinking, as you said, what's the next step, how can I do this, what should I do now, and I've noticed that I have had less ideas in the last few years, and I think that's part of the fact that I've had so much going on in my head at the same time. So since 2 months now, it's been 2 months since I've been working full time, and it's been great. I feel like I really looked open a lot of things that I didn't really see before, and I have much more clarity about what I should focus on, how I can do it smarter, and the next steps. So yeah, it's been busy, because before we start recorded, I because as someone who does work on weekends, I realized, yeah, 18. No, it was 9. So in total of, I did the math and I realized that I had worked in the studio for 19 days straight, which means that I will also work in the weekends. Not all days in the weekends, because I do have a pretty active social life and a boyfriend, but at least like either the first part of the day or the latter part of the day on the weekends as well. So
I mean, we love sewing, but that's too much.
that is too much. There's an inevitable, how do you say it? You will always have to pay. You know, there is no way around it. So the wall is coming in full force, and I will definitely try to avoid it.
I mean, you have been working on a project now, and you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's updating jeans sewing course. So I mean,
that's why I worked so hard. Yeah.
When do you plan to? When do you think you will be completely done with it?
I would say I edited the second to last lesson yesterday, so okay. I would say I'm about 85% done now.
Nice.
So I only have one thing, which is more of a bonus thing. So I've rolled out, I don't know, I mean, I edit maybe 10, 15 new videos since August. So that's why it's so much work. And it's nice to do that. I really felt that I wanted to do a push on the denim course, which we talked about in a previous episode. So that felt really good. And yesterday I sent out an email to those who have subscribed to my jeans content to my newsletter, and said that I am working on update and these are the things that are getting updated, and if you get on it now you will not pay more, because obviously once I'm done I will raise the price. And I've made lots of sales.
Nice. That's great.
Just sent it out yesterday evening, and I've already made a bunch of sales, so I felt super good.
Yeah,
again,
a
good
so
memory.
Nice. Like, you just write an email. I mean, using quotation marks now, because obviously you've been working
like
on these updates, but still, it feels like just an email, and you get sales.
And you're like, oh, and again, which I think both you and I, is a constant struggle. You just tell people what you got.
Yes. Use that mailing list.
So I was like, dang, yeah. But that was a good reminder, and I felt really encouraged about that. So I will keep on, which I've done a pretty focused marketing push for my denim content for the last couple of weeks as well. I just made sure that I really, because I want to reach a bigger audience as well when it comes to denim, not just people that maybe are already making jeans, but I also want to see, and if I can inspire more people to try making their own jeans and help them as well. So that's my kind of push now, right now. But I feel really good now that I can kind of let that project to rest for a bit. Now, of course, I'm going to do more updates in the future, but I will take a step back now and focus hopefully on our book. That's the plan now. Yes. So if I'm going to say, oh, I want to do blah, blah, blah right now, because you have to, nope, Johanna, we're going to work on the book, right?
Yes, it's always those new shiny ideas that swoop in, and all of a sudden it's like, no, but hey, wait, this is track on my real to-do list now.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, because all I can think now about all the new sewing patterns that I want to release, and I'm like, I can't do all the things at the same time. But that's all I can think about right now. I have so many ideas, but that will happen next year.
Yeah, and it's a good healthy sign, I think, for a creative person to actually have creative ideas. If you don't have that, it's a sign that maybe something needs to be changed. So it's a healthy sign, that at least. Yeah.
So it's nice, but it seems like things are happening for us. So both you and I think the good thing is that both you and I do have more time at our hands this fall than we normally do. Because one of the things that has been consistent here is the fact that it's really hard to make any like substantial progress on a business, and you have been working full time as a freelance pattern maker as well. And I mean, it's impossible. I mean, we're only humans, so it's you can have ideas. Oh, I should do this, and you look at other people and maybe do it full time or have a team, and then you realize, okay, the team is me, and I don't even have time. And even I don't have the team nor the time. So why am I comparing myself to someone who's running a full-time business with a couple of employees? Like, yeah, it's
exactly.
So that's going to be interesting. So we'll definitely keep you all updated on our plans in the future, and of course our space updates. But we also have a topic for this episode. Right, and that was your suggestions. So
I mean, we have talked about different knitted fabrics, different knitting structures, and also about materials. So I mean, even though woven is maybe not my strongest suit, we need to talk about woven fabrics as well. First discuss like the different types of weave there are, and then also different types of woven fabric. What are they called? What should you look out for if you're shopping online? Like the names. So we spoiler alert, it might be 2 episodes because there is a lot.
Yeah.
I can think there are a lot of knitted fabrics, but like no, the woven category is like so much bigger. So yeah, there is a lot of things to tackle here. And I had to do some research for these episodes because I don't know. I mean, I have done this, I have studied this, we had it courses in school, but that is like 20 years ago. I don't remember everything. So I had to do a little bit of research to get everything ish straight. And of course, there are so many, I mean, it's a huge topic, so I try to focus on things that are mostly relevant for clothing, fabric, woven, things to use when you sew your fabrics is different when it comes to interior fabrics and those. So I had a little bit of focus. So if anything is left out or missing, just let us know, and we can do a follow-up episode.
Absolutely. We love these deep dives, and we know that a lot of you listening do as well, because it's so interesting. Because if you understand the basic principles, it makes it so much easier to understand what type of fabric you should pick and why it's not all, like when we talked about the knit episode, why not all knits are created equal. So just because you say you can use a knit fabric for a pattern, that doesn't mean you can go out and get any knit and get it to work. And it's the same with woven as well. They have so many different properties, and I love this. I love this kind of deep dives, because I think the more we are equipped, I would say the fabric is perhaps the underrated player when it comes to sewing, that it really literally can make or break a project. And I think we all have had a lot of those experiences where you made the wrong fabric choice and you're like, why, that didn't work out.
Yeah, and I still do. It's nothing. It's you're not, even though have the knowledge, it's not always guaranteed that like you get it exactly right every single time. So it's an ongoing process, this one.
Yeah.
So you get more experience. It's easier to choose the right thing, but you don't always succeed. Speaking from experience now.
Totally. All right, Elle. Well, the stage is yours.
Yes, I will start to read from my paper. Because I needed to write down things. It's a lot of things.
Sometimes we do actually prep for the podcast and we do our research.
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes we need to. When it comes to woven things, yes, I need to come prepared. Yeah. No, but the first thing, a little bit of terminology here. So we have warp and weft yarn when you weave fabric. And a warp is the yarn that like runs through the weaving machine, so to say, that goes, up and down. And then the weft yarn goes from right to left, or left to right. I mean, that's my mental, like how I can keep them apart. And the weft is going left, like that's the one that is weaved into the
woven through. I think maybe sorry.
I hope you understand what I mean. Yeah. So totally. if I'm talking about the warp and the weft, then you know what I'm referring to. And woven fabric.
I'm going to post some images on that as well, I think, on the Instagram, just to help, because there are really good like illustrations for how that works. So it's a little bit hard to explain.
And usually woven fabric doesn't have any stretch at all. Sometimes they can have a little bit stretch if you have added like lycra, spandex, or elastane. That makes it a little bit stretchy, like not at stretchy as knitted fabric, but still like it has a little bit of give. But fabric that has a woven fabric still can has a mechanical stretch. That means that it doesn't need to have any lycra or anything then, but it's like how it is woven that can give a little bit of stretch. Or if it's cutted on bias, then that also have a little bit of stretch. So that is called mechanical stretch. It's like the way it's constructed has a little bit of stretch to it. So those are a little bit like technical things that are good to know. So when I researched this, there are basically, generally speaking, 3 types of weaves, and then there are a lot of under categories to these 3 weaves. And the first one is plain weave. This is the most simple one. It basically is it's like one by one, like up and how to explain this in a better way, Johanna? Help me out.
I mean, there is no like distinct weave pattern, right? It's just a vertical and horizontal weave, and it looks the same, right? In both directions compared to, say, twill, for instance, or
exactly.
I'm just trying to think out loud now.
I mean, like, plain weave.
I would say like cotton,
bedding sheets.
Yeah, the one they kind of use for maybe samples that unwoven. Unbleached, unwoven, unbleached fabric that you might use for toiles and samples, that kind of classic, simple cotton fabric. Usually it's very common to see cotton fabrics.
It's super common.
Weave.
And you can't, like, there is no difference between up and down on the fabric, or even here, I'm not suggesting that you should start to do this, but it is more or less also the same 90 degree from the grain line. So if you have, it can be a little bit about the tension issue here, like it can vary a little bit. But I've seen like professionals on Instagram also recommend that if you have gatherings, for example, and it doesn't look really nice, try to change the grain line 90 degrees, like turn it. And the gatherings might actually look a little bit nicer, depending a little bit on the, like how tight the tension of the yarn when it's like woven, because that might vary a little bit. But generally speaking, I mean, if you think of a bedding sheet, like there's no difference really between the grain line and the 90 degrees. Is it perpendicular if you like shift the grain line?
Exactly, there's no shift.
Yeah, I'm not saying that go ahead, do it on all different kind of fabrics. Do this with precaution, but just the general idea, like there's no difference, because the weaving structure is the same. It doesn't. It's no difference.
That's really interesting, because I think the only reason I would sometimes hesitant to flip things over is the fact that the shrinkage is different. But I guess if you pre-wash, that could be, because normally with woven fabrics, I think regardless of the weave, they do have a tendency to shrink a little bit more lengthwise than widthwise. And
but this depends if it's the same yarn. The yarn is going to shrink equally.
Interesting.
I mean, here again, it might be a little bit different how tightly the warp yarn is stretched out and how tightly the weft yarn is woven. So it can vary a little bit, but I mean, if it's the same yarn, they should react the same. So, but do it with precaution if you are going to change to grain line. But just as a, you
funny.
can do
I haven't ever thought about that, because I that's one of those things where I feel a little bit like, oh, can you do that? And I would feel, no.
I mean, I wouldn't do it like one leg and then the other leg do it, because that I mean, I'm a little bit OCD when it comes to direction of fabric, as we have talked about.
And also I think it's good. I thought it was appealing, like I thought if you would do like a draped sleeve, for instance, because then obviously you're not, you're cutting both pieces in the same grain, I mean, in the same direction. So whatever they will behave the same way. So I could imagine doing that, for instance, on a blouse, and just see if a draped sleeve would fall more nicely if I did cut it on what we mean, horizontally rather than vertically. Interesting. Maybe so we'll try if I will.
If you're feeling risky. But the other one, the other type of weave is twill weave. And now there are a lot of types of twills as well. But for a twill weave, it means that the yarn is like floating over. So it's not like woven one up, one down. Here, I think the yarn is like floating over, like 2 or 3. And this create a little bit of structure in the fabric, so it will look basically diagonal. Like there will be not diagonal stripes, but like there will be diagonal pattern woven into the fabric, and this makes it a little bit more, compared to the plain weave, a little bit how do you say it, like it gives a little bit nicer drape to it. It follows movement a little bit better, and and you can play around with it so much more. The third category is satin or sateen weave. This one also has longer floats of the yarn. It like skips several yarn, like goes up before, but it doesn't have like you can't see a structure in the fabric, so you don't see any like diagonal stripes or anything. It's like so not uneven, but it's like so small. How do you say, the weft is showing or the warp is showing, so it's you can't see it. It's a very smooth surface. It's a very shiny surface, usually also because of the long jumps that the yarn do.
Yes, that's really interesting, because as we, sateen, whether or not it's a cotton sateen or a silk sateen, it does have that shine, and that is only mechanical. So there's no treatment of the fibers. It's the fact that it's woven that way that gives that a kind of. I find it fascinating because
yes and no. I mean, it depends also on the type of yarn, and usually maybe use a little bit more shiny yarn to this. I mean, if you, for example, think of a unbleached cotton, if you would have a sateen weave on that type of yarn, it will not automatically be shiny. But if you are using a shinier yarn and do this type of weave, I mean, you are going to see like longer jumps on it, so the characters of like the yarn will shine through more. On the plain weave, it's going to be broken up more often, so then you don't see it as much. And
because we do have this idea about sateen being a little bit more luxurious fabric. For instance, I think about bedding. You have regular cotton. We talked about the plain weave. If you buy bedding here in Sweden, that's mostly what you get. But you can also get those sateen sheets. So, and to me, that also signals a little bit more luxury in a way.
And usually it's a combination also then with what type of material you have used. So it's not only the weave. So it depends. It is the combination of the material and the weave. And the funny thing is, like, sateen or satin with a T-I-N or T-E-E-N on the end, different spelling. But that depends if it's, how do you say, the longer floats, the jumps, is if it's warped faced or weft faced. Like the floats, if it's on the warp or if it's on the weft. I'm gonna try to find pictures on this one as well. But I mean, for the naked eye, I mean, it's really tricky to see. I mean, it's a little bit same thing, I would say, for a sewist. I don't think you have to nitpick like which one are you gonna choose. But just if you see like different spelling, it actually is. It is different types of weave, but the kind of the same effect.
I had no idea about this, because I just thought it was a thing, that sometimes we have same words. We use just different spelling depending on the origin of the word. So satin
and I mean,
and
some
sateen
fabric
are not technically the same thing.
No,
Mind
it is.
blown.
I mean, it is basically flipped to say visually, like horizontal or vertical, how the yarn is floating. So those three are the main types of different woven techniques. There are a couple of others as well, like doesn't really belong to these three categories, like crepe weave. There is a pattern to it that is repeated. When you look at it like drawn, it kind of look like twill, like it has these diagonal lines, but in reality when it's woven you don't see those lines because it's like so not uneven, but like so you can't really tell, so that makes the surface not fussy, but like
like a course, almost a
structure.
course. Yeah, structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically, I would say, the opposite of sateen in the fact that you can
Yeah,
feel
exactly.
like a certain resistance when you touch the fabric.
Yeah.
There's
I mean, it kind of looks
there's
like a
surface.
sandpaper without, I mean, not being harsh,
Exactly.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
But
looks
you
like...
do feel the structure on the surface. It's the opposite of smooth, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But drier feel, I guess, is a good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not smooth at all. And then there are like terry, like, so it has a terry pile. I mean, that you use for like bath, what do you say, towels, basically. And you have velvet, and then there is jacquard, which is like a pattern that is either repeated pattern or is like one giant pattern that is not repeated. So jacquard is obviously like very intricate, detailed, how it is, like how to weave it. And then there is also a double cloth, double weave, when it's basically like two separate layers of weaves that are intertwined every now and then, so they like stick together. But these are not so common. You usually talk about plain weave, twill, and sateen as the three main categories of the weaves. And so we go through a little bit also what like different types of twill and there are, because I think twill are the most common that you can have variations of. So you can have broken twill, then you don't see the diagonal lines so much. You can have fabric that is broken denim, for example, then it is like doesn't have really that diagonal lines. You can have, and I think these names can be a little bit different also if it is like interior design or clothing, but like diamond design, or I think in Sweden we call it goose eye, I think, because it has this diamond shape, and that's basically like you have this twill weave diagonal, but then you shift it if it's like leaning towards the right and leaning towards the left, and then you break it up so it's the opposite then on top. So it creates these small diamond shapes basically in the fabric. Could be bigger, could be smaller, like it really depends on the repeat you have. And yeah, twill could either be leaning to the right or to the left. There are different names on this. And it also could be a little bit not 45 degrees angle. It could also be more or less, depending on how many yarns it floats over in one weave. You can also do like a zigzag pattern then, like you combine these right or left leaning, which is like herringbone twill. Like that's basically how that one is done. I think that's the most famous twill or in that category. Or houndtooth, that's also a type of twill, and then combined with two different colors, you get this very intricate pattern basically. So there are like a lot of different types of twill, and I will go through more of them when we talk about also different type of woven fabrics, because some have a little more specific name. And the shirt that I'm wearing actually now, I don't think it's tricky to see, I will take some pictures, but this is also a twill, because you can really see like the diagonal lines.
Ah, interesting, because I thought it was a flannel shirt.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
Malena,
it is a flannel fabric.
Sure.
It's a check, but the type of weave is twill. So one thing could be like many different. So yeah, the thing is like twill, you can say a twill fabric because that's a specific fabric as well. But twill is a type of weave. It's a type of pattern that how it's woven together. So a twill weave can vary like so much, could be so many different things. Same thing with plain weave. I mean, a plain weave can be everything from organza to bedding sheet to heavy canvas. Like it could be so many different things. It's just a way of how the yarns are woven together. And as I mentioned, satin, like it doesn't have any pattern to it. it has more of a luster shine and is smoothest to it. And sateen, like, yeah, I'll go more into that also when we talk about the different fabrics, because they are there are maybe not different types of weave in the sateen area, but more different types of fabric types with different combinations here.
So do you have any favorites? Because I already talked about the three main type of fabrics, twill, plain weave, and satin. Do you have a personal favorite when it comes to sewing with one of these?
Yes, the satin is a little bit trickier usually to work with.
Yeah.
It's a little bit also not just because of the weave, but because of the like material it's been used also. So it's a little bit slinky, different to have its own life basically.
Yeah.
But then like a plain weave, I mean, again, it could be everything from organza, which is or chiffon, which is like nightmare to work with, to muslin. So that really depends on other things as well. And usually a twill, I mean, yeah, really nice to work with. But again, depends on how it's woven, how tightly, how loosely it's woven, and what material it is. So it really depends on what kind of fabric you use. And sometimes you don't always mention what type of weave it is. For example, it's a linen fabric. Then you just say it's a linen fabric. But I can... Usually it's like 90% chance that it's a plain weave, but you don't specifically write that it's a plain weave. No. While if it's a twill fabric, then you actually might just write twill fabric. So you might not always talk what type of weave it is. And
no, I don't really see that much in patterns. I mean, you do talk about properties, for instance, if you should get an elastic woven fabric, for instance, or a more heavy or mid-weight woven fabric, or we don't really talk about
no, because properties. I mean, a plain weave and a twill can actually like behave really similar if it's exactly the same like material and how tightly it's woven. I mean, it might not differ that much. So it doesn't really say in that sense like, oh, you need specific plain weave. Like, now you could probably have a twill as well. It works equally fine. I mean, a shirt, for example, could be twill and plain weave, no problem, same patterns and everything. It will just feel a little bit different, look a little bit different maybe.
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed with sateen, which I've sewn with a couple of times, and also I think I've had garments, it's running threads, because sometimes when the needle hits the sateen, there's a tendency of the thread to run, so you get this kind of stripes of the thread being a little bit damaged and pulling. So I find, generally speaking, even though it's a cotton sateen, it's a little bit more difficult to handle as well. So not just silk and polyester, but yeah, there's something about that weave that it's a little bit more delicate, even if it's made of a more sturdy fiber like cotton.
Yeah, and I'm guessing a little bit. But I think it's not as durable, because on the plain weave you have like every other yarn is going up, every yarn is going down, then the weft is going and then they shift and like it's very durable in that sense, like they are closed in, so to say, all the yarn like very tightly, while on sateen there are more floating yarns, there are more loose yarns, and generally speaking, the looser the yarn is, the more easily it is to damage. Like you hit a thread, like it's gonna be pulled. And also usually in sateen, like there is a little bit more finer yarn used, so it's more slippery. So I think that's like the reason why it's easier to damage sateen fabric compared to plain weave. Again, I'm a little bit like thinking like logically, I guess that's how it is.
I guess so too. But I do notice it, because I like to sew. Because I do like the appeal of the shiny surface.
Yeah, of course, we all go for the shiny,
shiny new objects. Yeah, and I think, to me, I think a twill is usually a very nice fabric to work with, because it usually has some stability as well. It has a tendency of keeping itself in check when you're sewing. Usually, not always, but usually a twill is a little bit heavier, a little bit more sturdy
Thicker,
compared to, yeah. So for instance, I've seen sometimes like a silk twill fabric or a rayon twill fabric, and I will say that those are really nice because they have a little extra stability compared to the plain weave ones. So to me, that feels a little bit more nice to work with compared to some. Of course, I mean, plain cotton, plain weave is not difficult to sew, but in some cases, I would argue that twill might be the most sewing friendly one of the three categories in general. I mean, of course, there are exceptions.
Yeah, and it's difficult to know here how is if you use exactly the same yarn when you weave a plain weave and a twill, like the same thickness of the yarn and same tightness in the weave, how like, yeah, there will be a little bit of difference, but like what's what, like it's a little bit different to pinpoint like that's the reason why we like this specific fabric or the other. But so these are different types of weaves. Now I've written all like more fabrics, like what might it say when you shop online? Or did you have anything question now before we move on?
But I was thinking maybe we should do a separate episode.
Looking
because we said we're going to try to.
Be a good,
stay tuned.
Cliffhanger here.
Cliffhanger.
Yes, I have.
That's how we do cliffhangers.
Lots of things to talk, so might
what
be good to.
What are these called? Yes,
exactly.
So
what
you
buy?
have to stay tuned for a follow-up for this episode because we can't talk forever, but we try to keep this episode under 1 hour.
Under 1 hour.
It requires a lot of discipline. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
we're very grateful that
you're
able to on and on. I'm very grateful that you have the stamina to stay so long. So I'm really looking forward to
apologize for my like bad descriptions for some of the. I'm trying to do like how the fingers are woven together. I'm like words. How do I explain how it's woven together? Because when I studied, I studied in Swedish. I don't know if I could explain this in Swedish either, but the vocabulary is not really there. But we will try to find some pictures where it's a little bit easier to see how they are woven together.
So that we should say that even though you are maybe only listening and watching our face, we always do a visual companion over at the Instagram account stitchingtalespod where you can actually see what we are talking about. So there will be some goodies for you there where Malena is going to post to make it a little bit more easy to understand.
Yes.
But then we're gonna keep on talking about wovens, but in the next episode of this series.
Yes.
So, stay tuned. Thank you so much for listening. I am Johanna Lundström.
And I am Malena Hjerpe. Bye bye.
Bye bye.